You guys know that I love to make predictions in the NBA landscape, and with the offseason pretty much over, I think it's time to hold myself accountable and react to my trade, free agency, and draft predictions for the 2025 offseason. So what is going on, everybody? How is everybody doing today? I made 3 videos this offseason. First one, we will be reacting to 15 NBA players that will get traded. So I said, you know what? I think that at least like 10 of these guys will definitely get traded. We'll see if this is going to be right. I will also be reacting to my free agency predictions and my final 2025 mock draft. And there'll be timestamps below if you're only interested in like one specific event. So let's react to this. Let's see if I got some stuff right. Let's see if I got some stuff wrong. Shams did hype this up to be like the craziest offseason in NBA history. We didn't quite get there. I think it was still entertaining. Bane got traded. Kevin Durant got traded. The Mavericks won the lottery. But yeah, let's see what I have so far for my trade predictions. And this video came out, I think right after or right before Kevin Durant got traded, the day before on June 21st. So every offseason, I like to make a video where I talk about 15 NBA stars that could get traded over the upcoming summer. But those guys that could get traded are not always a definite. Here today, I want to give you guys 15 players that I think will be traded this offseason. So if I don't get 10 of these right, I'm going to consider this an L. Because when you so I got to get at least 10 right. Let's see what I do here. Into account team timelines, financial structures, or maybe just lack of playing time. I think it makes sense for all of these guys to get moved this offseason. So the first player I'm going to talk about, Drew Holiday of the Boston Celtics. This just makes way too much sense. 1 for 1. Let's go. Obviously that one was expected, but I'll take getting right to start things off. I don't know if I gave a team that I think they'd get traded to right now, and I think we've actually gotten Drew Holiday's value to go up a little bit since the season ended. The Boston Celtics at the moment are a second apron team, so they're gonna have a ton of restrictions if they don't shed a ton of money this offseason, and it makes sense to trade away Drew Holiday, who was owed $32 million next year, $34.8 million in 2027, and $37 million in 2028. Given that Drew Holiday is 35 years old, but he's still a really good defender, he's still a solid three-point shooter, and he was banged up at times last year for Boston, so if he could be fully healthy, he's somebody that can elevate a team that is maybe on the outskirts of a conference finals that can maybe make them a finals contender. So I think there'd be a plethora of teams lining up for Drew Holiday this offseason. Could the Clippers get involved? Could the Dallas Mavericks get involved? Or maybe if a team strikes out on a big fish this offseason, they could pivot to Boston and try to get Drew Holiday. Heck, I could even see the Sacramento Kings try to get Drew just because it's not really going to cost you a lot given his contract, and Boston has no leverage. You need to help them get under the salary cap, and Drew Holiday is a good player, but with Jason Tatum most likely missing most of next year's season, Jaylen Brown had a major offseason surgery, it makes sense for Drew to get traded. And I would almost say that there's a 100% guarantee that he is moved this offseason, but I can never say always it's going to happen. So I'll say 99.9%. And all right, so I was right with that one. I will say though, I had no idea he was getting traded to Portland. I threw out like Sacramento, like similar tier to Portland, but that one really shocked me. I did not expect them to land Drew this offseason. Briefly mentioned that the Sacramento Kings could go after Drew Holiday. Well, I think that they're going to make a notable trade this offseason. I can't say it's a guarantee that Zach LaVine or Keegan Murray or Domantas Sabonis are going to get moved. So I'm going to go with DeMar DeRozan. It just makes way too much sense. You could also give a shout to Malik Monk, who may have a little bit more value than DeMar DeRozan, but I was almost close with Malik Monk. He almost became a Warrior. Saw DeMar DeRozan get paired up with Zach LaVine yet again. These guys have been on the same team for 4 years in a row now, and they have 0 playoff wins to show for it. DeMar DeRozan last year signed with the Sacramento Kings and then offseason signed and trade with the San Antonio Spurs and the Chicago Bulls. So he's owed $24.5 million next year and $25.7 million in 2027. The Sacramento Kings do own their first round pick in next year's draft, so they do have an out if they aren't performing up to standards next year. DeRozan is also 35 years old, and I think some teams would want to acquire DeMar DeRozan. Could Phoenix look to buy low on DeMar DeRozan since they don't have their first round pick next year for any trades they can make this offseason? Milwaukee doesn't have their first round pick next year. Could they go after DeMar DeRozan, who shouldn't cost too much? So I could definitely see DeRozan getting moved. He definitely has some value on the market. There are far worse contracts out there than 2 years, $50 million. And I think the Sacramento Kings have to do some type of shakeup this offseason. Mike Brown is no longer here. De'Aaron Fox is no longer here. Monte McNair is no longer here. They can't trot out the same roster in 2026 and expect different results. He was all right, so I did get that one wrong. Honestly, I would have liked to see Milwaukee somehow land DeMar DeRozan. I think he'd be an all right fit in that offense if you ran like Giannis somewhat at the point. Maybe that ends up happening this year at the deadline. Already traded once this year. That got rescinded. So I have to think Mark Williams is also going to get traded this offseason. Mark Williams was injured for the 3rd straight year. He missed a ton of time to start off year number 3, but he did finish the season on a strong note. He played in 44 games, averaged 26 minutes a night, shot 60% from the field, and averaged 15 points, 10 rebounds, and 1.2 blocks a night. He's not an elite rim protector, or at least right now, but if Mark Williams can string together a couple healthy seasons in a row, he could definitely become more consistent on that end of the floor. I think a lot of teams would be lining up to acquire Mark Williams this offseason. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers tried doing it again. If Mark Williams and his agent and the Charlotte Hornets front office are way too apart on a rookie extension, it's going to make a lot of sense for him to get moved, especially if they want to draft a Kaman Maliwatch or Derek Queen on the night of the NBA draft. And another player, all right, so yeah, Mark Williams ended up getting traded. We saw the Phoenix Suns draft Kaman Maliwatch and still trade for Mark Williams, so I'm 2 for 3 so far. Technically traded last year in that Mark Williams deal before it got rescinded. Dalton Connect, I think he's going to be traded this offseason as well. With LeBron James getting up there in age at 41 years old, the Lakers have a little bit of pressure to compete next year, and Dalton Connect is 24 years old. He's entering year 2 of that rookie contract. He's not a great defender out there, but you know what he is, and teams are going to be looking for shooting this offseason. I think the Lakers can leverage Dalton Connect in a trade that can net them back a rim protector. If it's a Nick Claxton, maybe it's a Mark Williams again, or somebody else on the market. Dalton Connect is one of their best assets they have, since they don't want to trade any of their veteran players right now or any future draft capital if they don't have to. I think the Utah... All right, so 2 for 4. Got Mark Williams right. Got Dalton Connect wrong. Guys should make some type of moves this offseason. I've been saying for the last year and a half they should trade their veterans. I would also say Lauri Markkanen, but the contract is so massive, I can't put a guarantee he gets moved. So I have to think that Colin Sexton is going to get traded this offseason. He's entering the last year of his current deal at $19.1 million, so it's definitely a movable contract. He's put together a couple good shooting years in Utah. He has still a very good competitive motor, and I'd like to see a team trying to compete next year go out and get Colin Sexton. The Jazz have Keontae George and Isaiah Collier, and there's a good chance they end up with a Con Knipple, VJ Edgecombe, or Trey Johnson on the night of the NBA draft. You could also say Jordan Clarkson should get moved this offseason, John Collins on a sign and trade, and Lauri Markkanen. But I think the one that has one of the more movable contracts that could net back Utah a first-round pick that would be appealing to contending teams, that's got to be Colin Sexton. I think he finally gets moved in the last year of his deal in the 2025 offseason. All right, so I got that one right. It wasn't a contender that traded for Colin Sexton. It was the Charlotte Hornets. So I am 3 for 5 so far. They didn't also get a first-round pick for Colin Sexton. I definitely miscalculated his value. They actually had to give up another second-rounder to get back Yusuf Nurkic in that deal. Mentioned one Williams in this video and Mark Williams. Let's talk about another one. Time Lord Robert Williams of the Portland Trailblazers. I think the Trailblazers can look to trade some of their veterans this offseason, but DeAndre Ayton is making over $30 million a year. Jeremy Grant has multiple years left at $30 million a year, and Anthony Simons does seem beloved by the front office, so I think all signs are pointing to Robert Williams being moved. He's making $13.2 million next year, and unlike Mark Williams, he shouldn't cost you a first-round pick. I'm sure multiple seconds can get this done, because this can allow more playing time for Donovan Clingan next year, especially if Portland drafts somebody in the front court. You could definitely trade Robert Williams. The Lakers, who I just mentioned, would go after him. Plenty of teams need big man depth as well, and I think it'd be very easy to move Robert Williams now that he's in the final year of this contract. I feel like so I got that one wrong. I should have just said Anthony Simons. It was right there for the taking, so I'm 3 for 6 here. What did I say? I have to get at least 10 or 11 right? Oh man, not a lot of room for error to finish this out. I think the Dallas Mavericks are going to make some type of trade this offseason if they want to go out and add a point guard or two. And I believe that PJ Washington is going to get traded because Daniel Gafford is somebody that could end up being a free agent in 2026. But Daniel Gafford is a really talented player, and Anthony Davis is far from consistently available. So they may want all the big man depth they can get with AD, Lively, and Gafford. All three of those guys were banged up at different times last year. And with the Dallas Mavericks having the #1 overall pick, who's presumably going to be Cooper Flagg, they don't really need PJ Washington as much as they did a year ago. Plenty of wings are currently in Dallas, and like Daniel Gafford, PJ Washington could be a free agent after this regular season. He could definitely net back Dallas a first-round pick or a different caliber point guard. I think it'd be easy to move him, and after getting Cooper Flagg, I think it would be best for PJ Washington to get more minutes on a different team, still trying to contend next year. All right, so that one was wrong. I really thought they were going to move PJ or Gafford, and they actually ended up extending both of them, to my surprise. So That's another wrong one. What am I, 3 for 7? Why didn't I say Anthony Simons and I said Robert Williams? I think the Chicago Bulls would be interested in PJ Washington, so maybe this could be a 3-team deal because I think Dallas could be interested in my next player that I'm going to talk about, Lonzo Ball. The Bulls have to move Lonzo Ball this offseason. I assume that they're going to re-sign Josh Giddey. I can't say with certainty that they're going to move Kobe White or Ayo Dosunmu. You could maybe mention Nikola Vucevic, but Lonzo Ball should be very easy to move for Chicago this offseason. They re-signed him to a 2-year deal worth $20 million, which kicks in next year, so $10 million per year, and it's non-guaranteed in year 2. That has a team option of $10 million, so that is a team favorable contract. I think the Dallas Mavericks could look to get Lonzo Ball as a bridge point guard until Kyrie Irving gets back. Maybe the Milwaukee Bucks want to get Lonzo Ball. Maybe Miami wants to get Lonzo Ball as well. Chicago should definitely trade him this offseason, especially if they can get somehow a late first-round pick for him if Phoenix or the Clippers are calling. All right, so I got that one right. 4 for 8. I'm glad I said Lonzo and not Ayo Dosunmu or like a Kobe White or Nikola Vucevic, because neither of those guys got moved this offseason. He ended up in Cleveland. Really like that pickup for Cleveland. I hope that Lonzo could stay healthy this year. And it looks like I'm going to go 5 for 9 with this one. Nets, please trade Cam Johnson. They have to trade him this offseason, right? Since they're not getting a Cooper Flagg or a Dylan Harper in the 2025 NBA draft, I don't think that they're going to try to half contend next year or just try to be more competitive. I think they're going to still go throughout this rebuild with all the draft capital they have and try to get as many young assets as possible. And if a team misses out on a Kevin Durant type deal, they could pivot to Cam Johnson, who would go for a lot less. Cam Johnson is owed $20 million in 2026 and $22.5 million in 2027. By then, he'll be 31 years old, so I don't think he's going to command too much money on his next extension. And Johnson was phenomenal last year in 2025. I want to see some team that needs shooting to go after Cam Johnson this offseason, because what purpose does he serve right now on this version of the Brooklyn Nets? They need to lose more games next year if they want to have the best chance at getting a Darren Peterson, a Cameron Boozer, or an AJ DeBanza. There's been reports. All right, so I'm not sure who this next guy is going to be because Ty Jerome didn't get traded. So got that one right. I'm really hoping I had Michael Porter Jr. in here as well, because that'd be a 2 for 1. It's that the Cleveland Cavaliers want to bring back Ty Jerome, and if they want to do that this offseason, they have to get out of the second apron. So I think all signs are pointing to them moving Isaac Okoro, that's another one, the former 5th overall pick, back in the 2020 draft. I don't think they're going to move Jared Allen or Darius Garland. They definitely could, but I think there's a better likelihood of Isaac Okoro getting moved. He's very physical on both ends of the floor, and I think some teams would definitely be lining up for Isaac Okoro. Maybe Cleveland could even get a first-round pick or a first-round swap, since they don't own a lot of draft capital from the Donovan Mitchell and DeAndre Hunter trades. They can recoup a little bit of that in an Isaac Okoro deal, or at least just get some cap relief so they can bring back Ty Jerome, who was one of the best backup point guards in the league last year. All right, so I didn't get that one right. Well, no, I did get that one right. Isaac Okoro did get traded. They did end up getting a first. That was me overvaluing him, I guess, way too much there. It wasn't a contender. It was the Chicago Bulls that got Isaac Okoro, but that's another one. I believe to my calculations, I'm 6 for 10 with about 5 more remaining. Orlando Magic just went out and traded for Desmond Bane. They're going to be a second apron team very soon, especially after that next Paolo Banchero extension kicks in after the 2026 season. They're going to decline a bunch of team options this offseason, but I believe there would be some type of market for Jonathan Isaac. And Jonathan Isaac is a solid defender last year. He still doesn't look like what he used to back when he was breaking out in that 2020 season, unfortunately. But if they're looking to shed some cap so they can duck the second apron in a year, Jonathan Isaac is most likely going to get moved this offseason. I think he's a fast. That one was definitely wrong, unfortunately. Sitting got to look at this offseason, but I believe Julius Randle is going to get traded in some way, shape, or form, because Julius Randle has a player option of $31 million. And if you look at what Julius Randle did in the playoffs last year, he's definitely worth at least that amount on a multi-year deal. In the second round against the Golden State Warriors, he averaged 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists, and that was pretty much the best playoff series of his career after having a very solid round 1 as well. Julius Randle is 30 years old. This is probably going to be the last large deal of his career, so if him and Minnesota cannot work out an extension in some way, shape, or form, a lot of teams don't have cap space. I believe he's going to get traded in some type of sign and trade deal. Maybe he's going to end up going to a smaller market team that is willing to pay Julius Randle to elevate them from a non-playoff team to a playoff team. I just can't see Minnesota committing long-term money to Randle right now. I feel like we would have had a good inkling that was going to happen, because I think they're more worried about Naz Reid, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and maybe making a different, larger trade. Okay, well, that one was dead wrong 100%, so that is an L by me. Hopefully, well, I think with getting Randle wrong, I don't think I can go perfect here, or I can get 10 right, so I think the best I can get is 9 right. The one here is going to be Norman Powell of the LA Clippers, who's surprisingly, at least I got this one right. been in a ton of rumors this offseason. Powell is 32 years old and he's entering the last year of his current deal. He's only making $20 million, so it's a super tradable contract as well. And the LA Clippers have a little bit more draft capital to work with in 2031 and 2032 to add to Powell to land a bigger name. Powell had the best year of his career in year number 10 and looked like a great complementary scorer next to James Harden and Kawhi Leonard. He was a little bit inconsistent during the playoffs, and I wonder if the Clippers are going to try to go all in around Kawhi and Harden before they end up retiring and trading Powell and multiple draft picks for a larger name. And I'm kind of expecting that to happen. That's why he's making this video. I talked about Randall being a sign and trade guy this offseason. I think that could be the same with Jonathan Kuminga of the Golden State Warriors. I feel like all signs are pointing to Kuminga and the Warriors just needing a fresh start from each other. It doesn't feel like he fits well around Draymond, Jimmy Butler, and Steph Curry. And I think Kuminga at 22 years old will definitely have some value on the open market. Maybe he's traded for somebody we are mentioning in this video. Maybe it's a Norman Powell. Maybe it's a Cam Johnson or a PJ Washington or a Mark Williams or somebody like that. I think there's a really good chance that Kuminga ends up in a sign and trade this offseason because I can't see him back in Golden State right now. And lastly, well, obviously that was the big stalemate of the offseason. I got Norman Powell right. I did not get Jonathan Kuminga wrong. I was close. Hey, if Jonathan Kuminga was traded for, I don't know about DeMar DeRozan, but Malik Monk, I could have been a little bit more correct in this prediction video. That we're all expecting to get traded this offseason. There's almost 100% chance. I don't even remember Kevin Durant and Devin Booker playing with Isaiah Thomas, who you could see above my head. Wow, that does feel like a minute ago of it happening, and that is Kevin Durant, who's been linked in trade rumors as of late to a bunch of different teams: Miami, San Antonio, or Houston, or maybe even teams like the Knicks, the Raptors, and the Minnesota Timberwolves. We know that it doesn't make sense for the Phoenix Suns to bring back Kevin Durant, who is 36 years old. He's going to be 37 at the start of next year. He's entering the last year of his deal, and last year Kevin Durant and the Phoenix Suns couldn't even make the play-in tournament a year after being swept in round 1 by the Minnesota Timberwolves. It is unfortunate to see how bright the Phoenix Suns' future was after the 2021 and 2022 seasons. They lose in the finals in 2021. They were the best regular season team in 2022. And then they traded for Kevin Durant, which I still think they would do in hindsight. But that Bradley Beal trade in the 2023 offseason, that Yusuf Nurkic trade, really set this team back. And that is gonna be for me. I hope you guys did enjoy. All right, so I did all right. I would say there were some bad predictions there. I should have just not included Julius Randle. Maybe I should have said Nickeil Alexander-Walker in a sign and trade, because that technically would have been right. So I didn't hold up to my end of the bargain saying that I was gonna get at least 10 right. So I guess this was a failure. So now let's react to my free agency predictions. Sometimes in the past, I've been way off on free agency predictions. I was really on point in 2024 with like Paul George, Tobias Harris, and those names. Let's see how I was here in 25. It's crazy that everything is going on in the NBA right now. We have trades going down. The NBA draft is tonight. And you know what's on Monday? NBA free agency starts 6 o'clock Eastern time, Monday the 30th. NBA teams are allowed to handshake agree on deals with free agents. So for today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my free agency predictions. And I think free agency this year is fascinating because not a lot of teams have cap space. So a lot of NBA teams are going to have to be creative with sign and trades, but most NBA teams have access to their full mid-level exception, which is going to be around $15 million, and that is perfect for this year's class. So I'm going to do an easy one to start this off. Kyrie Irving with the Dallas Mavericks. He does have a player option at $43 million that he can pick up and be an unrestricted free agent at the end of the 2026 season. He could decline it and become an unrestricted free agent. I don't expect that to happen.
Mavericks star Kyrie Irving has declined his player option and has agreed to a 3-year $119 million extension.
But that's also going to have a domino effect. I think I would have thought he was going to opt in and then re-sign and get that, but it looks like, yeah, he declined it and re-signed with him. I didn't expect him to leave Dallas. On my next free agency prediction, Chris Paul is going to leave one Texas team, the San Antonio Spurs, to another. I think the Dallas Mavericks are going to sign Chris Paul to be their bridge point guard until Kyrie Irving comes back. Last year, Chris Paul, as a 40-year-old, played 82 games, something he hasn't done since the 2015 season with the LA Clippers, and could still be a serviceable enough point guard at his age. I know LeBron gets a ton of credit, as he should, for his longevity, but Chris Paul at 40 years old is still a solid player in this league. Could be the perfect backup point guard when Kyrie comes back, but can also bridge the gap while Kyrie is out for at least the first half of next year's season. Yeah, that one was wrong. I should have predicted D'Angelo Russell to go to the Dallas Mavericks, because everything I said about Chris Paul just ended up being true about D'Lo, so I got that one wrong, sadly. Lakers need a center this offseason. Heck, they may even need 2 or 3 centers this offseason. One I expect them to get is going to be Clint Capella, who's going to be an unrestricted free agent from the Atlanta Hawks. I will say, I had no idea the Rockets were going to go out and sign a center after having Şengün and re-signing Adams already that offseason. But hey, they maybe don't want to play Adams on back-to-backs, and they got Clint Capella. I definitely didn't see that one coming. I also don't think I knew that DeAndre Ayton was a free agent when I made this video. Clint Capella isn't going to break the bank for them, and he may get a lot less than what the mid-level exception is, but Capella could maybe sign a 1-year deal, build up that value in LA when he's going to be catching lobs from LeBron. That was kind of a sick play. You guys see that? James, Luka Doncic, and Austin Reeves could be a good screen setter, rim runner for the LA Lakers, and they could also have some flexibility after signing Clint Capella to go after some more centers just to build up that depth on the team. I don't think we're going to see Jackson Hayes or trying to run Jared Vanderbilt or even LeBron James out there at the 5 spot next year. And speaking of LeBron James, I do expect him to be back with the LA Lakers in some way, shape, or form. He's got a $52.5 million player option. This could end up being the last year of his career, who knows? But I mean, he still has a lot left in the tank. Last year, LeBron played 70 games for the 2025 Lakers as a 40-year-old, and he averaged 24 points, 8 assists, and 7 rebounds a night. It definitely would be nice if LeBron could take a little bit of a pay cut so the Lakers could have more flexibility to try to maximize the roster next year to compete with the Rockets and the Thunder and other teams in the West. But all the rumors are pointing into a different direction. LeBron is just going to opt into that $52.5 million player option or decline it and sign a 1+1. I can't see him leaving the Lakers this offseason. I don't think there's going to be a Cleveland reunion. And that goes with my next guy, James Harden of the LA Clippers. A lot of the top free agents have player options, and Kyrie, LeBron, and Harden I think are going to re-sign with their current teams. Harden does have a $36.5 million player option. I actually could see him opting out of this one and not opting in and extending, just because Harden last year played more than what somebody making $35 million is worth. He was an all-star in 2025 and carried that offense on his back when Kawhi Leonard missed the first half of the season. He averaged 23 points, 6 rebounds, and 8.7 assists. He shot 35% from 3 and 87% from the free throw line. He had his moments in the playoffs against the Nuggets. He was a little bit inconsistent. He had a great game 6, a poor game 7, basically the James Harden playoff experience. Kawhi Leonard does have 2 years remaining under his current contract, so I could see the Clippers trying to match those contracts up. So I expect Harden to re-sign with the Clippers on at least a 2-year deal. And okay, that ended up happening. They aligned those as well. I don't think those are crazy predictions by any means, just to predict the top guys and LeBron, Kyrie, and Harden to re-sign with their teams. Now let's get into, I guess, the mid-level guys, some of the role players. I predicted, I guess, the wrong Bucks front court guy to leave Milwaukee for Los Angeles. Expect the Clippers to use their mid-level exception this offseason to maybe go after somebody like Bobby Portis. I think Bobby Portis would make more on the open market, given that his player option next year is $13.4 million. So I think he can opt out of that, or maybe it's an opt-in and trade. Either way, he can make more money with the mid-level exception. And given how many NBA teams have access to that MLE, Bobby Portis can get it from the LA Clippers. They need some big man depth to play a small ball 5 when Ivica Zubac isn't on the floor, but also a power forward that's physical, intense, that could space the floor. So I think it could be a nice bounce back year for Bobby Portis, who's been one of the best 6 men in the NBA over the last few years. And speaking about the Milwaukee Bucks, Damian Lillard is going to miss most, if not all, of the 2026 season. I think a veteran point guard they can get on the open market, D'Angelo Russell of the Brooklyn Nets. I don't think he's going to cost too much, and he's still just 29 years old. He could be a good 3-point shooting and just a fresh option out there for the Milwaukee Bucks, especially if they lose Kevin Porter Jr. in free agency. Because I really had no idea that Milwaukee was actually going to waive and stretch Damian Lillard. They did pick up like Cole Anthony on the open market as well, but they kept kind of the guys in-house in Ryan Rollins and Kevin Porter Jr. So D'Lo, we all know, ended up in Dallas. I also think the Bucks could lose another free agent, and that's my next prediction. Brook Lopez is going to sign with the Golden State Warriors. I think this could be a very similar contract to what Steven Adams got on an average annual value. I don't think Brook Lopez will get a 3-year deal from Golden State, given that he's 37 years old. So I could see this being a 1 to 2 year contract. But the Warriors desperately need big man depth. Quinton Post is a fine backup option. Kevon Mooney is definitely past his prime, and it doesn't look like they're fully invested into Trace Jackson Davis long term. So you can get Brook Lopez, who's played in big moments before, won a title with the Milwaukee Bucks in 2021. He's a solid enough defender. You could play him out there with Draymond Green, and he could be a floor spacing 5, a good enough rim protector. That's exactly what Golden State needs. I love this fit. in the Bay Area. So yeah, we all know that they didn't get Brook Lopez. He goes to the Clippers. They got somebody somewhat similar in age and play style in Al Horford. Former Buck that signed a one-year deal with a division rival last year, Malik Beasley, is going to be an unrestricted free agent. I think he's going to be back with the Detroit Pistons. This was a match made in heaven and was a big part on why the Detroit Pistons were a 6 seed last year and had one of their best seasons in 20 years. He was one of the best bench scorers and three-point shooters in the NBA. I can easily see him re-signing with a team that has cap space and being a Detroit Piston for the next 3+ seasons. I know Malik Beasley was supposed to be a Detroit Piston, and then he got into the gambling situation. I still have no idea where he's going to end up, if he's even going to be on a team by opening night. So I guess I was maybe half right on that one. He wasn't great in the NBA Finals, but Miles Turner is going to be back with the Indiana Pacers. They're definitely an interesting team in the 2026 season. I will say, if you went to any outlet and saw a Miles Turner prediction, I would say 90% of them had him going back to the Pacers, and the 10% that had him leaving, not one of those had him going to Milwaukee. If you could find me somebody that predicted Miles Turner to Milwaukee days before free agency, please let me know, because I may ask them for the incoming lottery numbers soon. To assume that Tyrese Haliburton is going to miss most, if not all, of next year's season. So the Pacers could treat next year like a gap year, or they could still be aggressive. Either way, they're going to re-sign somebody they drafted 10 years ago in the 2015 draft. Not a lot of teams have cap space. They've said before that they're going to go into the luxury tax to re-sign Miles Turner, who didn't have a great NBA Finals. He is an Indiana Pacer. I don't want that to change this offseason. I expect him to be back in Indy. No, that did change, and he went to their division rival, the Milwaukee Bucks. Expect to be back with their current team. That's going to be a very sought-after free agent, Naz Reid of the Minnesota Timberwolves. He's 25 years old. He has a player option of $15 million that he's going to opt out of and get a lot more money on the open market. I think there'd be interesting teams like the Detroit Pistons or the Brooklyn Nets that can throw intriguing offers at Naz Reid, but Minnesota is going to do all they can to clear up money to get out of the second apron to re-sign Naz Reid. I expect him to get a very large contract from the Minnesota Timberwolves to re-sign there, but I do believe Minnesota is going to lose one of their big free agents. He's going to get an offer for everybody's mid-level exception that has won this offseason. That is Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Exactly what you want in a modern 3-and-D piece in today's NBA. He has done a great job reshaping his value in today's NBA. I feel like I have him going to San Antonio. I could be wrong. Please tell me I had him going to Atlanta. This is a tough one because he can sign with so many different teams. Could Atlanta get involved? Could the Rockets get involved? I'm going to expect the San Antonio Spurs to use their mid-level exception to sign Nickeil Alexander. You said Atlanta. It was right there. Alexander Walker. They missed out on Kevin Durant, but I think they want to be aggressive still in free agency, get another wing shooter, something they need, and somebody that can also guard multiple positions out there. Hey, if you have De'Aaron Fox and Stephon Castle in your starting backcourt and Nickeil Alexander Walker and Dylan Harper in your backup backcourt, that is a great place to be next year. And another player that I think is going to get so many different contract offers from teams that have the mid-level exception, Ty Jerome. And Cleveland does want to clear up some cap space this offseason, maybe trading an Isaac Okoro or a Max Strus to get out of the second apron to re-sign Ty Jerome, but I think that's going to be very difficult. I think this is going to be a little bit of a shocking one. I think he's going to sign with the Sacramento Kings. Damn it, I thought I was going to say the Memphis Grizzlies. I don't think I've gotten one player to switch teams right yet. Sacramento Kings have been very adamant that they need a point guard, which is ironic because at one point, and that ended up being Dennis Schroeder for them. They had De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Haliburton. I could see Sacramento swooping in and getting Ty Jerome. Man, there's so many fun destinations for Russell Westbrook. Could he help the Milwaukee Bucks next year? Could he help the Phoenix Suns? I think, though, he's going to re-sign with the Denver Nuggets. He had his best year of his career since maybe 2021 last year, playing off of Nikola Jokic in Denver. I could see the Denver Nuggets trading away a Dario Saric or Zeke Naji this offseason to shed some money to give Russell Westbrook a larger deal that he's opting out of that $3 million player option currently. I mean, there's a lot of fun fits for Russell Westbrook, but I think it just makes sense for him to re-sign with the Nuggets. And well, we don't know where Russ is, but there is a very good chance it's not going to be Denver, right? He opted out. They signed Bruce Brown, Tim Hardaway Jr. They're not getting Russ. I wish I just said Milwaukee because I still could see that one happening, or Russ in Phoenix. It's crazy that Russ is unsigned here in October. Massive wild card right now, Jonathan Kuminga of the Golden State Warriors, one of the restricted free agents that isn't a full guarantee to re-sign with his current team that drafted him. And I just think that play-in tier of Eastern Conference teams are looking at the rest of the Eastern Conference right now and saying, hey, we have a chance next year. Let's be aggressive this offseason. It's either Miami or Chicago. I think the Chicago Bulls are going to re-sign Josh Giddey. That's a given. I think there's going to be some type of sign and trade with the Golden State Warriors. I don't know if it's Nikola Vucevic. I don't know if it's Patrick Williams, or maybe it's Ayo Dosunmu. Either way, I think Golden State will be trading Jonathan Kuminga in a sign and trade with the Bulls, and Kuminga is going to be playing in Chi-Town. I think they're going to be aggressive, and I don't hate it since Kuminga is 22 years old. I could just see it happening from the Bulls. this offseason. Well, that didn't end up happening. We almost had him getting traded to Phoenix or Sacramento. Chicago was brought up at one point. I thought it was intriguing. Maybe that happens at the deadline. Maybe he's traded for like Vucevic or one of those guys that I just mentioned. But yeah, we'll see what I say about Randall now. Randall is also a tough one because he has about a $30 million player option, but if he opts out, there's not really a lot of teams out there that could sign Randall with cap space. I can't see him signing with the Brooklyn Nets or the Detroit Pistons. So I think in some way, shape, or form, he's going to be back with the Minnesota Timberwolves. I do expect Nickeil Alexander-Walker to leave. Maybe I guess I changed my mind after my trade prediction video. Those did come out about a week apart from each other. Trade away somebody like Mike Conley or Dante DiVincenzo to shed some money. I expect them to be bringing back their frontcourt guys of Naz Reid and Julius Randle this offseason. But hey, maybe Julius Randle is traded in a year from now, but this could also be a sign and trade. I feel like Randall could go either way. A couple rapid fire ones here. I could see Gary Trent Jr. signing the mid-level exception with the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks could definitely use more shooting around Trae Young. They traded Bogdan Bogdanovic for Terrence Mann last year at the deadline. I expect them to bring back Karis LeVert and then go after Gary Trent Jr. just to be a good floor spacer around Trae Young. But though they didn't get Gary Trent Jr., they got Luke Kennard. Definitely like way off the contract. Gary Trent Jr. didn't get anything close from Milwaukee to what the mid-level exception is. Don't worry, Bucks fans. I think that the Philadelphia 76ers are going to re-sign Quentin Grimes, but also selecting somebody with the 3rd overall pick. They're going to be deep into the first apron. I don't think they're going to be able to re-sign Gershon Yabusele, so I'm going to predict him to sign with the Milwaukee Bucks. This could be a great Milwaukee Buck in their gap year in 2026. And there's been a lot of reports. All right, so Gershon ended up going to the Knicks. I said that Quentin Grimes is going to go back to Philly. He did, not on a multi-year deal on the qualifying offer. I was really shocked when the Knicks got Gershon. I did not expect that this offseason. Can I get at least one right? Please. That the Memphis Grizzlies are looking to do a sign and trade with Santi Aldama this offseason, which I thought was kind of head scratching. He's 24 years old. He shot 37% from 3 last year. I would keep him, but if there's going to be a sign and trade, I think the Detroit Pistons should be all over this one. A team that could go up another level in the Eastern Conference with the injuries. Like I got the obvious ones right. I mean, I got LeBron, Harden, and Kyrie, and that is it so far. Holy crap. Like my 2024 predictions were so good. My 2025 ones, not as much. Dame and Jason Tatum, they were a 6 seed last year. Why not get another floor spacer that could play out there with Jalen Duren or Isaiah Stewart for Cade Cunningham that isn't going to break the bank for you while you have the cap space right now? And then I expect John Collins to be in some type of sign and trade this offseason. I said that the Lakers could end up getting multiple big men. I predicted Clint Capella earlier. And to finish off this video, I think they're going to somehow get John Collins. Now, this could be a opt-in and trade, and then he re-signs with the LA Lakers. He's 27 years old. He'd be another great lob threat for LeBron, Reeves, and Luka Doncic. He's a good floor spacing 5 as well. He shot 40% from 3 last year. The pick and roll iterations with the Lakers ball handlers could be very efficient under JJ Redick. I could see this being a little bit of a curveball this offseason. So that is going to be... Well, no, the curveball was to the LA Clippers, and I just got that one completely wrong. All right, so now I have my official 2025 mock draft. I'm only going to react to the lottery picks, and then I'll see what I had like in the fanspo board, and I'll go through quickly just to see what I got right, just because this is a 33-minute video, and I didn't want to make this video too long for you guys. So I'm going to hope that I had Cooper Flag go #1 overall. No-brainer here, #1 overall pick. It's been the #1 overall pick basically all season long. Who was ever winning the lottery was going to get Cooper Flag, and that's what happened with the Dallas Mavericks. They recently re-signed Daniel Gafford, and it's been reported that they also want to re-sign PJ Washington. They don't want to trade him. Maybe this is going to be what the Mavericks roster is going to look like. They're going to add a point guard or 2 in free agency, and this is the team Cooper Flag is going to be on. It hasn't been since Markelle Fultz's rookie year back for the 2018 76ers, where a #1 overall pick has made the playoffs. That could definitely change next year. This is a very solid Dallas Mavericks roster that Cooper Flag is going to be going to. He's a true 2-way elite prospect that is going to make an immediate impact from day one, and this team could definitely be a top 6 seed in the Western Conference, and we could see Cooper Flag playing 30+ minutes a night in the NBA playoffs next year, which gets me really excited about what this Mavericks team can become. So this is a no-brainer, #1 overall pick. It was solidified when we found out that the Mavericks got the #1 overall pick back in the lottery in May. And then with the... All right, so we got the first one right. Let's go. #2 overall pick. This one was a little bit more interesting just because the San Antonio Spurs don't really need a lead ball handler or a point guard, but Dylan Harper was the consensus #2 overall player in this class, and you got to just take best player available. This isn't baseball. This isn't football where you draft for need. This is too high in the draft as well, and it's too much of a big tier drop off between the #2 prospect and the #3 prospect to pass up on Dylan Harper. He moved extremely well without the ball in his hands last year at Rutgers, and I don't think it would be a complete shocker if he's a more star level talent one day than Stephon Castle, or maybe his peak is higher than what De'Aaron foxes in the NBA. That's why you got to take him with the number 2 overall pick. The Spurs are loading up to make the playoffs for the first time in the Wemby era next year, and Dylan Harper is going to be a big reason why they do make the playoffs if they do in 2026. Okay, so we all knew that the draft kind of started at 3, so I'm not giving myself any props for the first 2 picks there. Here's where the draft officially starts. So many different guys could have gone here at number 3, and you assume after the lottery it was going to be Ace Bailey, but this has been one of the more interesting storylines leading up to the NBA draft. Ace Bailey's camp did not want to work out with any of the teams in this range. And it is funny that is, like, you remember Sharif Cooper, his dad is Ace Bailey's agent, and they actually just recently parted ways, so all that for nothing, maybe in a different universe, different reality. He's a 76er. Also made a draft workout. They agreed on it, the date, with the Philadelphia 76ers, and then they canceled it. A lot of the 76ers front office, the staff, the employees had a lot of effort and work into these workouts, and they just canceled on them. So I just don't see Ace Bailey getting drafted by the 76ers. Maybe Daryl Morey says screw it, and he takes him anyway, but I think it's going to be VJ Edgecombe, who we know the 76ers like. That's been a lot of the intel as of late, that they are going to be leaning towards taking Edgecombe with the 3rd overall pick. Apparently, he didn't shoot the ball too well in the workout, but it showed that he cared because he was nervous. He killed the interviews. I could just see the 76ers taking Edgecombe, who was my 3rd ranked player in this class. It is a weird fit, which is very similar to the San Antonio Spurs. They don't really need somebody of Edgecombe's archetype and size right now, just because you have Maxey, McCain, and Quentin Grimes, but you just take the best player available. You take your guy. You worry about it later, and they need defense. They need to be more athletic and somebody that wants to give 110% effort every single night for a team that who knows what can happen next year in this weird Eastern Conference. So I do believe VJ Edgecombe will be the 3rd overall pick to Philly. And then this is
all right, 3 for 3. Let's go.
Gets interesting as well. Ace Bailey did not want to work out with the Charlotte Hornets. There was a report that the Hornets were struggling to get some of these guys in for workouts in Charlotte, but one person that did go there that killed the workout, and he'll be happy wherever he's selected, Con Knipple. He's had a late draft rise. He was kind of in that like 5 to 10 range most of the collegiate season, and I think he's going to get drafted in the top 5. They need somebody to have in between LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller. Con Knipple is an extremely smart player that was Mr. Basketball in the state of Wisconsin, where he was an elite shooter for 4 years. He was an elite shooter last year for Duke, over 40% from 3, over 90% from the free throw line. When Cooper Flagg was out, he was able to initiate the offense in the half court, and that could definitely happen next year if Brandon Miller or LaMelo Ball misses some time. I would have loved VJ Edgecombe here, and hey, maybe we see a trade that Charlotte could move up to number 3 to select VJ Edgecombe, which is crazy because you would have assumed that was going to be for Ace Bailey, but I think they're going to take the safe player here in Con Knipple. They're not going to take the risk in Ace Bailey, especially after taking a risky prospect last year in T-John Salam. So you're going to take the player with the high floor that could be a very good complementary piece around LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller.
Now, all right, 4 for 4. Let's go. I don't think I don't want to spoil it, but I wish I was just like, you know what, Danny Ainge is going to say F it and take him, but I think I had them passing up on you know who, and then it kind of ruins. It's just like the domino effect after that. Will there be a wrong pick after wrong pick?
This is where I had a lot of internal debate. Number 5 here for Utah, because it doesn't seem like Ace Bailey wants to go to Utah, but Danny Ainge is the type of executive to say, I don't care. It was very similar with Jaylen Brown back in the 2016 draft. He's going to take his guy. So I have either Jeremiah Fears here or Ace Bailey, and I'm actually going to go with Jeremiah Fears right now.
That's I had it right there. I mentioned Ace Bailey. I could have gone the first 5 right. I hope. Oh no, I think I have Ace going 6 to Washington, because then maybe I would have had Washington take Trey Johnson, and then I could have had New Orleans take Jeremiah Fears, and I would have been perfect through 7.
Been a lot of what
I was never going to be perfect through 8, though. I had no idea Yegor was going to go 8.
Reported that Utah loves Fears. I would not do this. I have Kasper Jakachonis ranked higher than Jeremiah Fears. I think Isaiah Collier
was a big draft take of mine, and they were selected 13 picks apart.
Serviceable enough point guard. I would take the chance on Ace Bailey at 5, or I would take Trey Johnson. I would take one of those 2 guys above Jeremiah Fears, but this is a mock draft, what I'm predicting, not what I would do. So yeah, I do think Jeremiah Fears is going to be the next point guard in Utah. They maybe think Isaiah Collier is more of a backup point guard long-term. You get somebody that is a developmental project under Will Hardy. He reclassified. He's a young player in this class. He can run very well out of the pick and roll, but he struggled from 3 last year. He struggled finishing at the rim, and he's a small guard. I worry about this pick a lot, but it does seem like we're heading to the direction of Utah taking Jeremiah Fears at 5. And then maybe Ace Bailey wants to go to the Brooklyn Nets, or he wants to go somewhere else, but I think this is where he's going to go, to the Washington Wizards at 6.
I do believe Washington would have taken him at 6 if Utah passed up on him at 5. There's been some reports that he does want to be a Washington Wizard as well, and maybe that's why he's falling down draft boards and he's canceling these workouts, because he wants to be a Wizard where he could eventually be the #1 option there, where he can get that full max extension in 3 years. Ace Bailey is a great prospect, and although I did have him as my 6th ranked prospect behind VJ, Khan, and Trey Johnson, they are so close together, and I don't think Ace Bailey should go this low. I think he's a more intriguing fit, at least in Philadelphia, than somebody like a Trey Johnson or a Khan Knippel at 3 specifically for that situation. I think Utah should definitely take him at 5. That's what I would do. Definitely take him over Jeremiah Fears, but it does feel like Ace Bailey is going to be a Washington Wizard. It's an interesting fit with Bilal Coulibaly out there, but they do need somebody that could be that #1 scorer for them one day. If it's not going to be Bilal, I think Bub and Sar are going to be great complementary scorers, but never the guy, and Ace Bailey could be the guy over there in DC, where I just want to see the Wizards be a more entertaining team, right? Like, you have the big markets in the Northeast, Boston, Philadelphia, New York. I want DC to become a basketball city again, and maybe Ace Bailey could be that guy. It's wild that we're predicting Ace Bailey to fall to 6. He was always like the 3rd guy for most of the year, maybe the 4th guy. The fact that he falls to 6 is kind of crazy. It's just the way that the top 10 ended up falling out. Maybe this changes. Maybe a team like Brooklyn trades up to #3 on draft night. That could definitely happen. And then at #7 here, I think this is an absolute steal, a home run pick for the New Orleans Pelicans. Trey Johnson, somebody they've worked out, somebody that would fit like a glove in this offensive system, an elite shooter both in high school and at college last year at Texas, with Zion Williamson having so much of the defense's attention in the paint. Trey Johnson moves extremely well, up there with Khan Knippel, is one of the best off-ball movers in this class, and he's going to get so many open looks both in. All right, so unfortunately,
corner,
I got a lot of
the
these
break.
wrong. I think now with Trey Johnson at 7, I'm going to go through this a little bit quicker just because I'm kind of talking about situations that didn't end up happening, which you may find interesting, and you can go back to this video if you want to watch it. Ike Gasparo, Shakuchionis go 8 to the Nets. They went with like a different European guard. Well, I guess not European guard, but different guard in Diego Drummond from BYU. So I got that one wrong. I think I had Essengate 9 to Toronto. I don't think I ever had Colin Murray Boyles. I had Carter Bryant 9. That was one of my favorite picks. I really thought Masai, who got like let go the day after the draft, was going to take the upside swing on Bryant. But they kind of went the high floor guy in Murray Boyles. So I think this is where I cooked at 10 would do. Phoenix has so many options here at #10, right? So they just got their pick back from the Kevin Durant trade. A lot of mocks we've done have been for the Houston Rockets at 10. And I think Phoenix is going to prioritize some defense. So Colin Murray Boyles, I might have changed it before the draft. Be an option, but I do believe this is going to be. I did get it right. Okay. Come on, now you watch. They didn't get a center in the Kevin Durant trade, but now they get somebody that could be a rim protector for a long, long time in Phoenix. He can anchor that paint. He's a great shot blocker out of the gate, and he's going to have a great pick and roll point guard in Devin Booker for him right away. And having a lot of good 3-point shooters in Phoenix should allow the paint to be freed up for Kaman to just kind of be a beast inside out of the gate. And now we're talking about Dylan Brooks, Jalen Green, and Kaman Watch as the assets you got back in a Kevin Durant trade. That definitely looks a little bit better. So here is the top 10. So at Portland, or for Portland at 11, they took a center in this draft. It wasn't Derek Queen. It was Young Hansen, who they traded down with. So Memphis traded up to select Cedric Howard there at 11. Chicago at 12, I had Asa Newell. Should have had Noah Essengay. 13, this ended up being New Orleans selecting Derek Queen. I had Diego Drummond. And then at 14, we had the Spurs. This ended up being Carter Bryant, not Yohan Berenjay. All right, so I also had like Cedric Howard 15, Colin Murray Boyles 16, Thomas Sorber 17. That one was close. Essengay 18. I had Liam McNeely 21. He went 29. Danny Wolf at 22. I think I also did say that since he got traded, I like Danny Wolf to Brooklyn at 22. They took him a little bit later. I got Nolan Traore kind of right. Like, he goes to the Nets at 19, not Nee Clifford. I had him going to the Nets there. I had Drake Powell going to the Nets too. They were just in different spots. Like, those are kind of half dubs for me. Round of my mock draft, like I said, I will be doing a second round here, but the second. And then Phoenix also traded 29 for Mark Williams, but they took Rasheer Fleming in the second round, so I would give myself half a point for that one. Damn, Ryan Kalkbrenner went 30. That could have been right, but they took the other big man in Yannick Konan-Niederhauser. I mean, OKC traded out of 24. They took Nee Clifford there, the Kings, who traded up. Walter Clayton didn't go 25. That ended up being Jace Richardson. Clayton went a lot earlier. I had Jace going to Miami there at 20. And I just wonder if I cooked on any of my second round picks. Like 31, Noah Pendon, no. Cam Jones went to the Pacers. Ben Saroff ended up going in the first round to the Nets. This was like Sion James, Ryan Kalkbrenner territory. I had Thero go. No, he went to the Lakers. Konan-Niederhauser did not go here. Another big went in Janai Broom. We had Chaz Lanier to the Nets here at 36. He went one pick later to the Where'd he go? He went to the Pistons. Kobe Sanders went a lot later to the Clippers. He was one of my favorite sleepers in this class. Javon Small went to the Spurs. He ended up in Memphis. Alex Tui ended up in Golden State, not Toronto. Hey, I did get this one right. Jameer Watkins went to the Washington Wizards at 40. I remember hearing that they loved him in their workout with him throughout the pre-draft process. Golden State, I had them taking Sion James. Would have loved that fit. They went kind of like the Will Richard fit instead. Tyrese Proctor to the Kings at 42. They took Maxime Reynau, who I definitely had off the board. I had Hansen Yang Hansen at 43. He ends up going, what was it, 16? 16 to the Portland Trailblazers. Crazy still to this day. My reaction was unreal in the moment. Janai Broom to the Thunder. Chicago took Dylan Cardwell, who I don't think went drafted. He was undrafted to the Kings. I liked him as a sleeper. Kobe Bryant to the Magic at 46. He was one of the best shooters in this class. Max Shulga, Milwaukee. He ended up in Boston. Micah Peavy ended up in New Orleans. So that one was wrong. Second round is just a crapshoot because guys get traded all the time. Vlad Golden did not go here. They took Proctor here. At 50, I had the Knicks, or that pick might have been forfeited, or John Tonje. I mean, they ended up with Dink Payton. No, they took Mohamed Diawara, but that was later in the draft as well. So 51 was this, or 2 with the Suns. This might have ended up being Kobe Bryant, like around that range. Tamar Bates goes to the Jazz. They ended up with like John Tonje later in the draft. The Pacers with Ryan Nembhard. No, this actually, because I was like the Nembhard connection. No, they took Talion Peter, somebody that was not in anybody's top 60 mocks or top 59 mocks. The Knicks had to forfeit their pick. Memphis, Hunter Salas. He ended up being on like a 2, or I think he's on the 2-way with Philadelphia right now. I don't know if this was the, oh no, this was Jemai Meshack, one of my favorite sleepers in the class, or one of them. Salio Niang went around this range, but he went to Cleveland, not Orlando. Brooks Barnheiser went earlier to the Thunder. And then 60 was Grant Nelson here, which I think this ended up getting traded a couple times. This, I think, ended up being Jemai Meshack, who was Mr. Irrelevant. So that will be it for me. I hope you guys did enjoy. I also made another video here where it was one prediction for every team, and it was actually like nominated from you guys, where just, I think I asked you guys on Twitter or the community tab. It looks like it was Twitter, and you would give me like your nominations, and I would say if I agree with it. So if you wanted like an offseason prediction for every team, you can go to this video as well. This came out on June 17th. But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, I would appreciate you dropping a thumbs up. Like I said, I like to hold myself accountable too, just to look back, see what I got right, see what I got wrong, and then hopefully I can learn from some of these in the future as well. And then yeah, hit that subscribe button for more predictions throughout this NBA season as well. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.